Hey everyone, it's Lexie. So recently I filmed my kind of bookshelf tour, and as I was going through the books of all of them, I realized that there were some on my shelves that were just like, I was like, why am I holding on to these? So I usually do like a book purge once or twice a year, and so wasn't I was going through all these, I was like, you know, these aren't memorable, I probably won't pick them up again. So that's kind of how I just kind of figured out which ones I wanted to keep and which ones I wanted to bring to half price books. So just to kind of preface this, don't get offended if one of your favorite books is on here. It's just, we're all different, so these books weren't just my cup of tea. So I'll kind of go ahead and show you which ones I will be getting rid of. So starting out, this was a book that me and my aunt read for our little book club thing, and I just didn't really end up liking it that much, and it was Every Note Played by Lisa Genova. So this is by the author who wrote Still Alice, which is about a woman who gets Alzheimer's and her kind of journey with the diagnosis and it progressing. So this is about kind of similar, it's about ALS, and I really enjoyed kind of seeing the progression of the disease and how just like little things here or there and just kind of how it ultimately kind of progresses. I think it's really interesting, and I think she did a really good job. But what kind of ruined this book for me was the characters. I just wasn't attached to them. I didn't really care much for them. Yeah, I just didn't really like them, and I felt like with Still Alice, I was so connected to the characters, and this one I just didn't really care much for them, their decisions, like any of that stuff. So I actually got this at Half Price Books for the book club, but I will be returning it there as well, just because, yeah, I just wasn't impressed. So this was a book that I read quite a while ago actually, and I was going through it, I was like, I like her other books, but this one was kind of like my least favorite and probably one that I won't be picking up ever again, and it was The Sugar Queen by Sarah Addison Allen. Sarah Addison Allen's books are very much rooted in magical realism, which I really like. I really love some of her other books, like First Frost, like all those other ones, like The Secret, like they're right here, like Lost Lake, Garden Spells. Like I really love all of those, but this one just wasn't one that really resonated with me. I didn't really like how the author tackled the relationship that the main character has with food. I just didn't really like how that was executed, and I don't know, it was very problematic in my eyes, so I was like, okay, no point in me holding on to this any longer. So this was another one where it was just okay, and it is Reconstructing Amelia by Kimberley McCreight. And this was one that is basically, the premise of it is about a woman whose daughter ends up jumping off of the school building and committing suicide. And so the mother's trying to piece together what led her daughter to ultimately kill herself, and so we get kind of flashback of the daughter, kind of the events leading up to it, and in that sense, like, it sounds like it would be a really interesting story, but it was okay. I kind of figured out the big plot twists in here, and yeah, it was just okay. Like, I wasn't blown away by it. I'm kind of sad that I held on to this for so long, because I think I ended up reading this in like September, so it's been a while. But yeah. So this next one is a historical fiction novel, and it is Finding Rebecca by Eoin Dempsey, and this is one that I read last summer, I want to believe, and basically it's about these people that live the island of Jersey, and so when the Nazis invade, there is this couple, so Rebecca is Jewish, and then Christopher was not, so he ends up joining. So Rebecca ends up getting taken by the Nazis, so he ends up joining the Nazis trying to find Rebecca, and like, in essence, it was a really interesting story. I just wasn't really, I didn't feel very, the relationship didn't seem really believable. There wasn't a lot of time dedicated to developing and that relationship for me to feel like it was something worth fighting for, but yeah, it was just okay. And like, I'm very picky about my historical fiction, so if it doesn't live up to that standard that I've created for it, yeah, this one's gotta go. And so that standard for historical fictions basically covers these next 3 books. So I'll just kind of quickly go over them here. So this is one that me and my aunt read, and it was Beneath the Scarlet Sky by Mark Sullivan. I had a lot of issues with this one. I didn't think the writing was very good. Plot-wise, it was all over the place. Pacing was all over the place, and I know basically kind of the research that I kind of looked into this, that it's not very truthful to the story that it's based on. The author took a lot of liberties as there as well, and yeah, it's about like this guy during World War II in Italy, and he ends up kind of help smuggling people out through Switzerland, and then he also ends up joining the Nazis and becomes like a spy for the Allies. But yeah, like I said, the execution of this wasn't the best, and it didn't live up to that standard. This is one I had a love-hate relationship with, but it was The Aviator's Wife by Melaine Benjamine, and this is basically about Annie Marrow, who was married to, I forget their names, let's see, Colonel Charles Lindbergh, and just kind of their relationship and all of that stuff. And I didn't really know too much about these historical people, but yeah, it just, I had a really love-hate relationship because I didn't really like any of the characters. It was, some parts were really interesting, but yeah, it just, I don't know, like it didn't rock my world, and so it has to go. This one I've held on for quite some time, but I'm finally letting this one go, and it is The Plum Tree by Ellen Marie Wiseman. And so I really love her novel What She Left Behind. Like, that one is really, really good, and so I was really excited to read this. I think this was one of my book club picks from a couple years ago, and so this one is about kind of, I don't remember. It's about this young girl growing up in Nazi Germany, and I found like a lot of it to be problematic. She was like, her head was in the clouds the whole time, and she was completely oblivious to like stuff going on, and she wasn't really thinking about how her actions had consequences to those around her, and she put her family in harm's way, and it was just really infuriating, all because she had a little crush on someone. And yeah, it really annoyed me. So another problem that I had with this book was something similar to another complaint I had when I had to read Great Expectations in high school, was that it was just went into so much detail about, you know, the scenery, that it took away from the plot. Basically, like, there'd be like 3 pages describing, you know, the leaves and the trees. Yeah, it was just, I took away from the story, and I was already irritated with the characters in here as well, so it was just kind of like, nope, not my cup of tea at all. So this was one that I was really excited about, but it kind of ended up being a little bit disappointed, and it was The Orphans Tale by Pam Jenoff. And so basically the premise of this is about this girl who is working, sorry, that was my mom, who is working at the train station during World War II in Poland, and she stumbles across that's my sister, sorry, who basically, she stumbles across this train that has all these children in here, and there's this, like, basically all these children are close to death except this one baby. So she ends up taking that baby and she ends up going and hiding at the circus, and the first chapter was just phenomenal, but the book steadily went downhill. It was kind of like insta-lovey in some aspects, and then I didn't really, another case too, I just didn't like the characters, and it was just like, I'm not feeling it. This is one that I'm really sad to see go, and yeah, I held off buying this for so long, and then I finally ended up picking it up, and I'm just so sad because I love the cover, and it is Language of Thorns by Leigh Bardugo. I got this for Christmas, like this past Christmas, and I was really excited because I wanted it for so long, but I just never really got around to getting it, and then my parents asked me, and I was like, oh, I'd like this one. But yeah, they're just like a collection of short stories or like folklore from the Grishaverse, and I just didn't really like a lot of the short stories in here. I do love the kind of artwork that is present throughout this whole thing, but like none of the stories were memorable, and I don't really want to hold on to this if I just didn't like it, and if it's kind of like, I don't know, I have a hate-love relationship with the Grishaverse, so this one is kind of on the ones that I just didn't end up liking. I'm really disappointed, but oh well. And lastly, this was a book that I picked up from the library like book sale, so it was only like $1, so it, you know, didn't break the bank, but it was Sting by Sandra Brown. Sorry, I'm just very popular today. Sting by Sandra Brown, and basically I've read a lot of her books and I've loved all of them, but this one for some reason I just wasn't able to get into. I felt like the plot was kind of all over the place, and then it wasn't until like the last like 30 or so pages where things actually started to pick up. So yeah, it's something like even my mom was like, no, I don't really like this one, and she like DNF'd it halfway through. So yeah, it was just something that there was just something off about this one that we just didn't like, and I'm like, I don't want to hold on to this big paper or this big hardback if it's not something that I'm ever gonna read again. So that's it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any books that you've unhauled recently. I always love watching those ones because I've been like, I really like doing like a big purge of everything. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.